Well, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year to all. Hope everybody had a nice holiday, and I am back. Did you miss me? Oh boy, did I end up getting sick. Holy crap. Yeah, where we last left off with our fearless hero. I came down with a flu from hell. Was pretty much 100% sure it was COVID, but it turned out that it wasn't. And when I saw my wonderful doctor, she did all these different tests and tested and swabbed me for everything under the sun. And final conclusion, it was just a really, really bad flu. So that put me down on my ass running a fever for, I think, about 5, almost 6 straight days. Completely kicked my ass. So I guess there are some pretty nasty flu bugs going around. And of course I had to find that out the hard way. Oh well, that's done now. I am back to almost 100% full strength and close enough. And we are heading out of our favorite little haunt here in Rochelle, Illinois at the Petro. Came in here again late last night, and yesterday was Tuesday. Today is January 3rd, Wednesday, and my week started yesterday on the 2nd because we had Monday off, the first of the year, and so my week started yesterday. And of course, the first day back to the truck is always a really, really long day. So we ran from Plainfield. Where'd we go? We went to North Chicago, Dakota, and picked up a load from them of about 5,000 pounds, and very light stuff, and as it always is, and then ran that up to Menards in Eau Claire, grabbed a loaded trailer that we have now that is going to Holiday City, Ohio, and shot our way back down from northwest Wisconsin as far as our little truck could take us. And boy, the last 3 hours or so of that drive, that was hair-raising, because it was this kind of misty rain that had been going on pretty much all day, and the temperature was warm enough to where it wasn't really that big of a deal. It was just rain, and at some point it got cold, and that evolved into the last 3 hours of that drive. Everything started icing up. And so that was slow going. The only thing you can do when you start seeing ice, preferably if you can, you pull over and park. I didn't really have that option. I mean, ultimately I do have that option, but I didn't want to set myself that far behind. So I just decided, it's not something that you can't necessarily drive through. You just got to be super, super careful and go super slow. So that's what I did, and made it down here to the Petro. So I was able to eke out 630 miles. Not bad at all for the first day back, considering I had a live load that took a while, just because I was the third truck in line, not because they're slow loading. They're actually pretty quick. And then a drop and hook up in Eau Claire, which of course always takes a little more time just because of the sheer size of that property. So 630 miles, I'll take it, especially considering the weather. So we are about to get back on the road and make our way to Holiday City, and it is once again a gray and nasty looking overcast crappy day, and hopefully that will change at some point. Maybe the sun will come up and burn all this crap away. That is my hope, because I'm tired of driving through gray. So let's see what the day brings. Well, good morning, kids, and happy Thursday. Yes, it's Thursday, January 4th, and I didn't do anything yesterday as far as video, simply because the weather was absolutely terrible. It was gray, misty, rainy, sleety, icy, all flippin' day long. And I was traveling through Chicago, Gary, Interstate 80 through Indiana out to the beginning of Ohio, where the Menards distribution center in Holiday City is, and yeah, nothing that would have come out very nice looking on video. So just had a nice quiet day concentrating on the road, and which I always do whether I'm videotaping or not, but you know, just kind of one of those quiet Zen gray days. And so yeah, we hit Holiday City, we dropped that trailer, picked up a loaded trailer and ran that down to a northern suburb of Cincinnati to a store location, and had a live offload, of course, at the store because it's all their merchandise, all their inventory. And yeah, that was an unusual, very unusual offload last night, because usually Menards stores are very quick, usually a half hour, something like that, maybe an hour at best. And this store, I walked in with the paperwork, as I always do. You know, you back on the door, you walk in, give them the paperwork, and go wait in the truck till they're done, right? So I went in and did that, and there were like 14 people all hanging out there on the dock with absolutely nothing going on. I was like, all right. So, you know, they must have had all of their stuff in the store already done, so they were all hanging out and shooting the breeze or whatever. You know, more power to them if they can do that. Nice folks in there, and I just gave them my paperwork and went out, waited in the truck. Yeah, well, 2 hours later, good grief, you'd think they'd have an army of people there. I would have been in and out of there in 20 minutes, but no, 2 flipping hours sitting on that dock. So by the time they were done, my clock was completely shot, and so much for trying to get a little bit farther to where we need to go today. Couldn't do that last night simply because I had to sit on that dock forever. So that is trucking, folks. Pulled off the dock, went into their parking lot, promptly shut down. That's all I could do. So, and of course it was pretty late then, and it's 9:15 in the morning now. We just started rolling about a half hour ago, and 9:15 Eastern time, so 8:15 my time, Central. And we are now on our way to Crothersville, Indiana, to Sarah Wire, our friends over there, and we're going to pick up a load that is going to a Menards DC in Valley, Nebraska. So that's one I haven't been to yet, so that's kind of cool. So today will be a day of run, all driving, no waiting around, except for this onload at Sarah Wire, which is usually pretty quick. So hopefully they'll be true to form today. But it reminded me of something about trucking for anybody looking to get into it or somebody who's new, which is the whole subject of mileage. You know, how many miles, that was the lane departure warning, picking up a crack in the road. Thank you, safety systems, for keeping me safe. I wouldn't have known what to do with that crack in the road without your horrendous sound. Anyway, yeah, mileage. So you hear a lot of talk about mileage. How many miles can you run a day? Blah, 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 blah. And as a matter of fact, at this company, at M&S1, they are very, very focused, keenly focused on mileage. So if anybody is ever looking to come here, absolutely be aware of that. They want their trucks doing a minimum of 500 miles per day, which translates on a 5-day work week to 2,500 miles. So that's minimum. That's what they want minimum out of their drivers. And you know, their routes do support that for the most part. So that's not really a huge issue, but it can be sometimes. So, and that's what I was going to talk about, is that if you compare my Tuesday to my Wednesday, it's a very good example of what happens in trucking, and how oftentimes the mileage that you as a driver are able to run is completely and utterly out of your control. And that's one of the things that I don't like about mileage requirements. And you know, nothing against M&S1. You know, they want things the way they want things, and that's fine. And in an ideal situation, you know, 500 miles is not impossible by any long stretch, right? 500 miles a day is a reasonable expectation for a professional driver, especially drivers that have been driving for 2 or more years, which is also their requirement. You have to have 2 years of experience before they'll hire you, minimum. So, that's not an unrealistic expectation, but you do have to account for the realities of driving. So, as I was saying, you compare my Wednesday or my Tuesday to my Wednesday. Now on Tuesday, that was just a mirror falling down, no biggie. Tuesday I ran 600 and I think 23 miles, something like that, 620 something, which is a good day, right? Well, that day was leaving Plainfield and going locally, picking up something that's a pretty quick onload usually, and it was fairly quick, a little longer than usual, but no big deal. Picked up a load there and then ran it straight up to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, to Menards, to their headquarters up there, their DC. Dropped that trailer there and grabbed a loaded and got on the road coming back exactly the way I came, right? So that stretch of of basically 39, 90, 94, or some combination thereof, that runs on a diagonal from Chicago up to Eau Claire. That run is pretty unobstructed. In other words, you can run that thing. You can run flat out. My truck is covered at 70, so I could set the cruise at 70 on that run and hardly ever have to slow down. It's just not, unimpeded. Excuse me, good road all the way up there. So even in shitty weather, because it was misty and raining, and later on it was icing up, and it was just generally nasty the whole way up and the whole way down. But still, I was able to drive fast enough to where I did 623 miles. I went up and then made it all the way back to Rochelle, and then shut down. So that was just a little bit shy of a 14-hour day, 623 miles. So now you compare that to what happened yesterday. Now yesterday I woke up in Rochelle, Illinois, and had to go to Holiday City, Ohio, and then from Holiday City, Ohio, drop and hook and take that loaded trailer to the store in suburban Cincinnati. So that's essentially finishing off the little leg approaching the Chicago Metro on Interstate 88, and getting through the Chicago Metro, getting through Gary, Indiana on I-80, which everybody that's driven through there or that drives knows is just, there's no fast way to do that. It's just nasty traffic no matter what time of day you're there. And then make your way on I-80 with construction and restricted speeds and heavy traffic and shitty weather, and make your way up to or out to, I should say, Holiday City. Grab that trailer, start running down I-75 all the way down to Cincinnati. Well, again, shitty weather. You have to go through Dayton, a little bit of construction here and there, very heavy traffic. And then you get to a place where you have to have a live offload, and they end up taking forever, a 2-hour offload. So the reason I'm talking about all those details is that by the time I parked last night and shut the truck down, my mileage was a little bit over 500. I think 510 or 512 miles, something like that, compared to 623 miles. So that's almost 100 miles, more miles that I drove on Tuesday compared to Wednesday. However, both were full days. Both were days that were essentially just shy of 14 hours. So same amount of time, same amount of work, stress, whatever you want to call it, on the driver, but 100 less miles. So that's the point I'm trying to bring up, is that for new drivers, you need to be aware of that. That a lot of your ability to run miles is, well, actually all of your ability practically to run miles is based on who, where, when, and how you're dispatched. The majority of it is not in your control. As long as you, the driver, are available for all of the hours that are on your clock, excuse me, and are willing to work all of the hours that are available to you on your clock. In other words, you're doing the most you can and still remaining legal. And you're not shutting down early, and you're not taking forever long breaks, and you're not stopping 30 times during the day, and all of that is a given in my opinion. After 2 years of driving, if you call yourself a professional, that should be a given. As a driver, you're always going to do as much as you possibly can because that's your income. And if you're going to be in the truck, I've always said this, is that if I'm going to be in this truck, I want this truck to be moving as much as it possibly can be, because it does me no good to be sitting parked in this truck and not getting paid. Then why be here, right? So, my point being that that's the one issue that I do take with any company, and not just MNS1, any company, where they have very rigid mile requirements for productivity of their drivers. I have a very dear friend who drives for another company right now, and it's a constant battle for them to get miles. And they spend a shitload of time waiting between loads, going to all these crappy customers that do 2, 3, 4 hour onloads and offloads. And it's one of those situations where just how they're being dispatched is making it impossible for them to make money. And that's a more extreme example of what I'm talking about. The industry tends to put all of the blame, so to speak, or the push onto the drivers, when in actuality, the drivers really can't do anything about it. It's the dispatchers. It's the company itself. It's the management of the company. And the reason I say management of the company is that if you're sending your trucks to customers that hold your trucks hostage for 2, 3, 4 hours to do live offloads or live onloads, and you're still going to that customer, then shame on you, management. Shame on you for not doing something about it, for not talking to that customer and saying, hey, get my trucks out of there. You can't hold my equipment hostage. But they're too afraid to have that conversation for fear of losing the business. So I get it. But it's a tricky situation. So you can't just say, a bad company, because unfortunately a large part of that is the reality of the market. A lot of these customers, they don't need you as a trucking company, because they'll just, if you piss them off, they'll just choose another one. There's plenty of trucks out there, too many trucks out there. So, as I say that with a grain of salt, right? There's only so much the company can do. But what they can do is realize the fact that the majority of things when driving a truck are out of the driver's control. We can't control the weather. We can't control traffic. We can't control accidents. We can't control how long customers take with us. We can't control where our dispatchers are running us. I mean, look at what just happened. I stayed on the western part of our territory, which is basically the greater Midwest. On the first day, I was heading westerly and northerly. I was going northwest up to upper northwest Wisconsin. But as soon as you hit Indiana and farther east, everything slows down. Traffic increases, the roads aren't as fast, it's just slower. And, there should be some sort of accounting for that as far as I'm concerned. Because again, I can't control that as a driver. I was dispatched a certain way on Tuesday. I ran 623 miles. I was dispatched another way on Wednesday, and I ran 100 miles less in the same amount of time, same amount of effort, same amount of work, same amount of ability as my part as a driver as I can do. So, if I, didn't hit a certain target, is that my fault? I don't think so. But, that's kind of how the industry is. So new drivers, be aware of that. A lot of what you're getting into is extremely unfair to the drivers. And that's just the reality of this business. It always has been, and it probably always will be. So anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I thought it was a valuable or interesting topic. Anybody that drives for a living knows exactly what I'm talking about, so I'm kind of preaching to the choir. But for new drivers or anybody looking to get in, it's an important thing to know. All right. So anyway, we are off and running towards Crothersville, Indiana. We are about to get off this lovely interstate and get on US 50 for the US Highway final leg to Crothersville. So more later. So as we continue on our little journey here on US 50, heading pretty much due east to Crothersville, Indiana from Ohio, this little stretch to get from the greater Cincinnati area over to Crothersville, the only really direct way to do it is taking this US 50. And here's another example. As gorgeous as this road is, it's a really pretty drive for the most part. But it's another example of how it affects mileage, right? So as you can tell, this is a 2-lane road that is going through some twisty, hilly kind of area. You can't run 70 miles per hour flat out. As a matter of fact, for the whole first half of this drive, for the last, 45 minutes to an hour, I've been behind this flatbed. And there's no way you're going to pass in a truck. So this guy up here, for whatever reason, he'll go the speed limit, which is 55. In some parts it was 60, but that was just very briefly. And then it drops down to 45 and then 40, and it's typical of a US highway. It goes up and down and up and down, right? Well, this guy out here in this flatbed, through much of it, was going 10 miles per hour under the speed limit. In other words, he's in no hurry. He's just kind of, doing his thing, right? More power to him, that's fine. He's probably an owner-op. He's probably trying to save fuel because he's paying for it. So I understand that. So I'm not saying, the driver's a bad driver or anything like that. He's doing what he needs to or wants to do. Great, more power. The problem is, though, that I, in a company truck that need to make time, I'm stuck behind him for a long time. And, on a US highway or a country road, you're stuck. You're not going to be passing anybody unless you're insane, right? You don't pass with a semi-truck on a 2-laner in the country unless you can see for miles, right? So that slows you down. And that's another reality of the business. So I thought I would bring that up as well. Yep, the entire way, all the way on US 50 behind this flatbedder. It's doing 44 miles per hour in a 60. And there's not a damn thing I can do about it. It's one of those days where I wish I was in a car and I could blow by him like that Durango. But unfortunately, I can't. Guy's got mirrors, he can see me, but he doesn't care. So what are you going to do? So much for getting some miles today. Thank you, driver. Appreciate that. Very considerate of you. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the great state of Iowa. Let's see, it's December 5th. It is Friday. And we are on our way to go a little bit through the Omaha area, Omaha, Nebraska, that is, obviously. And on the west side of Omaha is Valley, Nebraska, and there is a Menards distribution center there that we're going to visit and drop off this empty trailer, or full trailer, and grab an empty. So I made it as far, let's see, we started the day in Cincinnati, and made it over to Crothersville to pick this load up that we have now, and unfortunately was held up about 3/4 of the way there by a flatbed trucker that decided he wanted to drive way under the speed limit, which really set my day back. So thank you to that driver for being so highly considerate. But still managed to get almost 600 miles. I shut down with, what was it, 500, I think 592 miles, something like that. But we shut down kind of a little bit before Des Moines in God, what's the name of that place? LaDonna, Iowa. It's essentially Brooklyn, Iowa. Which I guess when, if you think about it, it proved the old song lyrics, no sleep till Brooklyn. So there you go. Basically spent the night in the greater Brooklyn, Iowa area, and we've been driving for a while now. Yeah, that's about it. We are about ready to hit Omaha, and the plan from there is we're going to do the drop and hook in Valley, and we're going to take that empty trailer and run empty, backtrack on I-80 going east. We're going to stop at the Menards Distribution Center in Shelby, Iowa, which we just passed a short while ago. And we're going to do a swap-a-rama there, drop the empty, pick up a loaded trailer, and we're going to bring that over to a Menards store location in Waterloo, Iowa. And once that trailer is emptied out at the store in Waterloo, from there I'm going to deadhead home. So yeah, quite a full week, quite a full day. I don't think I'll be able to make it back by tonight. So it's looking like it'll be yet another getting home on Saturday, late morning, early afternoon kind of a deal. And that gets old. But hey, it's a lot of miles and good money, so I try to look at it that way. Plus, for whatever reason, it just happened to pan out that they were way short on drivers in this area, the way this week panned out for them. So it's a good thing I'm out this way, because I can grab that trailer that's in Shelby that needs to be delivered. So it's all good, not the end of the world. But anyway, that's about it, and we're just making our way, and we'll see how it goes. And we are now rolling into and through Council Bluffs, Iowa, which is of course the gateway to Iowa on the western side, and on the other side of that gateway is Omaha, Nebraska. So you know what it means when you're in Council Bluffs, right? That's right! We're gonna see the Edward Scissorhands Bridge. Yeah, that controversial bridge that some people love and some people hate. I personally think it's pretty cool. I can see why some people hate it, but it is absolutely, without question, it is different. And it is something that you certainly do remember, and I guess that was the entire point of doing artwork on this bridge, is the city of Council Bluffs wanted something that would be a visual reminder of the gateway to Iowa. That people, it would come to their head that, oh, here's the gateway to Iowa, and boy, you can't forget this thing. There's no doubt about that. Again, I think it's cool. I mean, you don't see stuff like that very often. I think it's pretty brilliant. But, again, I see how people can go, oh, God, that's ugly as hell. Well, I guess beauty is in the eye, right? But, yeah, they definitely accomplished their mission. And the artist who did it understood the assignment. So now that we're past that, we will briefly be in, or in just a little bit, we'll be in Omaha. So, welcome to Nebraska here pretty soon. So a short while ago, we just passed through we're on the western part of Omaha, and we just passed through and passed by the historic Boys Town. And I just thought I'd do a quick little PSA for any Chicagoans that might be visiting Omaha, Nebraska. Boys Town, the Chicago definition, is quite a different thing from Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska. I'll just leave it at that. All right, well, we are finally here in Valley, Nebraska. And out there in front of us, that is evidently the distribution center from Menards out here. So I have never been here. This is my first. So no idea where to go. We'll find out here shortly. I think I have to go all the way to the end. Yeah, I think it's those. Yep. Aggregate truck only. Yep. No, you don't turn left there, Carmen. And I see it up there. Cool. All right, so we got to pick up a loaded trailer here and then run that loaded trailer over to Shelby, Iowa, drop it, grab another loaded trailer, and go to Waterloo. So we're making the grand tour out here this time. So let's see, truck entrance. Here we go.
You have reached your destination.
We have arrived. Woohoo!
Turn left, then take the first right.
Well, happy Friday the 6th of January, everybody. And yeah, we are in Iowa, a state that I ordinarily love to be in because it's absolutely beautiful and it's usually wide open roads for the most part. However, when it's snowing or any sort of slippery type of conditions, in my opinion, one of the worst states to be in because for whatever reason, Iowa's really, really, really bad at salting roads and pre-treating roads. And we are in the conditions that prove that right now. There's been a light snow going on overnight, and it's really nothing, you know, huge or bad or what have you. It's winter, right? In the state of Illinois or anywhere else. No big deal, right? They salt the roads and, you know, it turns to water and you're good. Well, they haven't salted here, so what we're driving on right here is pretty much ice. And for the moment, it's not too terrible. If it does get any worse, however, this truck driver will be pulling over and parking until, you know, a little bit later in the day when hopefully either the heat of the day or the sleeping salt truck drivers will wake up and get their butts out here and do something with these roads. But I've already seen 2 cars in the ditch. We just passed by another accident there where somebody slid into somebody else. And still, I'm cruising along, driving by foot. New drivers, do not dare use cruise control in this kind of weather. That is the kiss of death, unless you really want to end up in a ditch. And I was doing 55 earlier when it wasn't quite this slippery, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, nothing looked different on the road. It looked exactly as it had been looking for, you know, however long I've been driving. And all of a sudden, I felt the entire rig go squirrely, and it was definitely slipping. And I'll tell you what, drivers that have experienced that, you know exactly what that feels like. For those who haven't, it is one of the most terrifying things you could possibly imagine, being in something this big and this heavy, and moving forward, and all of a sudden feeling the whole 72 feet of your rig start swirling out. Yeah, that gets your attention real freaking quick. Scared the living crap out of me, so as it always does. But in that situation, you keep your head about you, And the only thing you do, get off the throttle. If you happen to be on the brakes for whatever reason, get the hell off the brakes. But most of the time you're on the throttle, so get off that throttle immediately. As soon as you start feeling it squirrel, steer the truck. Don't sit there and rack your brain about, well, wait, no, do I steer into the skid, or do I steer away from the skid, or what's moving which way and how do I steer it? Fuck all of that. Fuck all of that. Do not think about stuff like that. Your only thought should be steer the truck. It will take care of itself. And when I say steer the truck, I don't mean jerk the wheel. That's the worst thing you can do. When you're in a skid, everything has to be super light feel, very smooth, very even, no jerking, nothing, no abrupt change of any kind other than removing your foot from that accelerator pedal immediately. And when you do that, leave your foot off for just a moment, like literally a second or two, and then start slowly, very lightly, and I mean very lightly, start squeezing down on the throttle a little bit. And what you're doing there is, by releasing your throttle, you're allowing whatever tires have lost traction, you're allowing them to regrip the road. Similar concept to what ABS brakes do in a car or in a truck. You want to stop that loss of traction, and that's the only way that you can do it. So once you do that and you lay off, the reason you start a moment or two later to start slowly feathering in that throttle a little bit is that you want to have your tractor pulling your trailer. And I mean just ever so slightly can make all the difference, because just in case you're in that situation where the skid is happening because the weight of the trailer is pushing the tractor, that's what you don't want. You never want, in a skid, you never want that trailer pushing the tractor, because that's how you jackknife. It will just push the tractor right out of the way. You spin to the side and off you go. You're off to the races. So that's really all you can do. So just remember, don't overthink it. Off the throttle, steer the truck gently, steer the truck, and then start slowly feathering that throttle back on so that you're engaging that kingpin up into the front part of the fifth wheel, so that you're pulling the trailer. So right now we are doing 45, and you can hear the clicking of my hazard lights. And I've had a couple trucks blow by me at 55, 60. Now, albeit they probably had very heavy loads on them, which does make a difference. However, I personally think they're out of their frickin' mind. And I'm hoping, honestly hoping, that I don't see one of them in a ditch as we come up. Because even though they're idiots and they bring it on themselves, I still wouldn't wish that on anybody. That's just a horrible thing. So, no, I'm not going to be a super trucker today. I'm going to do I'm up to 50 now because the roads look like they've put some salt down here. And I'm just going to puddle along and putter my way back to Plainfield. And if the conditions start changing, I'll bring up my speed. But other than that, if I have to drive all the way back to Plainfield at 45 miles per hour, then guess what? I'm driving all the way back at 45 miles per hour. I am not going to risk putting this truck in a ditch. So, anyhow, that lecture over. We made it to, where the hell were we? We went to, Shelby, Iowa. Grabbed we brought that trailer from Valley, Nebraska, dropped it off in Shelby, Iowa, picked up a loaded trailer in Shelby from the distribution center and brought that over to a store location in Waterloo, Iowa. We delivered that last night, and by the time they were done emptying the trailer, I was out of hours. So I parked out in their front lot and had a nice quiet night. So now I am returning back to home base empty. Bit of a long deadhead, but that's all right. They decided to do that simply because they really needed that trailer moved. So, you know, it's one of those deals where in order to keep the customer happy and not let them down, since it's one of the biggest, it is actually by far the biggest customer we have, it's well worth paying, costing the company a bit of deadhead miles to make sure that customer is facilitated. So very smart move on dispatch's part. So I totally get why they're doing it. But yeah, so now we are empty and we're heading back from Waterloo. We're on I-380, heading down towards Cedar Rapids, and from there we're going to keep continuing down on an angle, heading kind of southeast on an angle until it runs into Interstate 80, and then taking 80 all the way home. So hoping very much that as the sun starts poking out, this stuff will start clearing up. But boy, that one little moment of sliding, man, that's enough to really make you respect what's going on real quick. So anyway, more later. Well, good morning, wintry Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So yeah, the road conditions are slowly improving, thank God. I'm up at the speed limit now at 55 going through Cedar Rapids, and they have speed cameras all over the place here. So any of you new drivers coming through Cedar Rapids, when it says 55, do 55. They will photo enforce a ticket on your ass, so be careful there. And over there on our right, you can see the Quaker Oats facility, and that facility is a very old, very historic monster facility. I'm not sure, I seem to remember it was originally something else, and then Quaker Oats took it over at some point. But I could be wrong with that. Maybe it always was Quaker Oats, but it's massive. It's a huge facility. Sits right on the river, the Cedar River, of course. Very cool looking, and as is the rest of Cedar Rapids. I've said it before in many other videos. I really like this town. I don't know, there's just something about it. I like the way it's laid out. I like the feel of it. Just a cool looking city. And I love the river going through the middle. I think that's really wild. I love when cities have like river waterfront like going right through them. It might be because I was born and raised in Chicago, right? So we have Lake Michigan, right? So that's one of the things that makes the city of Chicago so unique in the world, actually, is that it has such an amazingly beautiful lakeshore. You know, even in downtown Chicago, you know, you have these beautiful beaches and lake views, which is really cool. And because the city planners, way back when it was originally founded, were very intelligent people, Daniel Burnham and the rest of them, when they were planning out Chicago, and they had the foresight to understand that if you leave it up to developers and builders, they will build right up to the water line, just like they did in New York and a lot of other cities, and most other cities. So they made city ordinances that are still in place today that do not allow construction a certain distance from the lakeshore. And because of those laws, and because of that incredible foresight on the part of these gentlemen, and mind you, that was back when, you know, Chicago basically didn't exist yet. It was still, you know, it was originally an army fort that was there. So to have that kind of foresight was pretty incredible. And that is why Chicago has the lakefront it has today. And it's a gem. I mean, it really is something spectacular that you don't see in a lot of major cities like that. So anyway, here we are driving through Cedar Rapids, and I'm talking about Chicago. But it's all good. Anyway, we are in a little bit better conditions now, thank God, and hopefully it's smooth sailing on the way home. And Saturday, so not a lot of traffic, not a lot of trucks, so I absolutely love that. So more later. Well, all I can say is that thank goodness it got warm. Oh my gosh, what a shit show. So yeah, I'm just, I'm referring to the weather, nothing else. Man, hello winter. So thankfully it's 36 degrees and it's rain and not coming down as full-on snow. So I'm about 20 minutes away, something like that, from the terminal where I will park this truck and get my ass home finally. So yeah, another week of getting home Saturday midday. Yeehaw. So I hope next week, I can get back by Friday. So old farts like me, we need a little bit of downtime, right? So anyhow, I think that's going to be about a wrap for now, and hope everybody has a great weekend, and stay safe, be good, behave, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.